أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
So tonight I'm just going to speak a little bit about death, and I just feel like it's a topic that we seldom touch on, and we don't really give it the attention that it needs, despite the fact that it's really the only certainty in our life. After we're born, that's the only thing we know that's going to happen to us, for sure, 100%. Every single human in this room. Now, a little bit about me. I'm really not in the position to be giving any sort of lectures in this manner or anything like that. But like you guys here, I'm coming here to learn. I'm always looking for something new. So it's more of a kind of a sharing experience between you guys and me. I'm here learning from you guys learning from me. So I'm going to try and keep it as interactive as possible. So if you guys feel like I'm giving too much of a lecture, do ask me questions. If you get confused, just let me know. I'll try and explain as much as I can. And if I can't, well, Allahu A'lam. But anyway, so we'll start with what do you guys know about death? So just anything you guys know about death, just let me know. Just put your hand up and try and dissect it. Sorry about my bad handwriting, but yeah. So anyone have anything to contribute or? Yeah.
Transition.
That's a good point.
How do you define that?
Transition. What was that?
How do you define that?
How do you define it? So in terms of definition for death, as we kind of see in this country that we live in, there's different views on definition of death. But when it comes to Muslims and kind of the majority of people that we meet and interact with in our lives these days, death is nothing. As soon as you die, there's nothing. It's an Arabic, it's adam, nothingness, which doesn't make sense, because we are in a cycle of completion. The moment we're born, we're gradually increasing and increasing, either in a bad or good way. We're always going towards an end, a goal. So the definition in that sense, I guess, in a Western view, it's nothingness. In an atheistic view, it's nothingness. But when it comes to Islam, it's probably one of the beginnings of the actual life. So in the Quran it says, إنما الحياة الدنيا متاع. So it's nothing. Like this reality has no value in comparison to the afterlife. So I guess these two different views kind of give you what the meaning is. And it's transition. So it's a good point that you brought up. Anything else? We'll touch on this in the lecture. Anything else? No one has anything to say? Come on. You've heard something at least. No one's seen anyone die? Probably not, okay. It's a bit too much. Yeah.
Death is not actually, according to the Quran, it's not actually a lack of life, but it's something other than a lack of life. They say, the Quran says that it's something created like life.
Okay, that's a good point, yeah. So it's a creation. We'll touch on it as well. So, yep.
It's unknown.
Unknown is a good one, yeah. That's probably the biggest reason why no one talks about it, because it's something so unfamiliar and, yeah.
It is unfamiliar. It's a removal of a veil as well, so you enter a completely different realm.
Okay, new existence, new realm. Oh, such life. I guess you can put All right. So that's good for a start, I guess. We can start going in depth a bit more. So what I wanted to kind of touch on today, more than anything else, was in Arabic it's called Sakarat al-Maut, which is basically the beginning stages of the awareness of the other life, the other reality that is within this reality, and the presence of the angels, the Ahl-Bayt, the Prophet, and the devils as well, the specific ones, and ways in which a mu'min can pass this barrier, one of the first stages or barriers into the other, not really a barrier that's stopping you, I guess a stage, into the other life. So in the Quran, like Brother Ahmed mentioned before, with the creation, death is not something like what most people think is. It's something completely different. الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. So they're both a creation. They're like us. There's a hadith as well that says يوم القيامة, the day of judgment, there will be brought a kibsh, so like a ram or a goat, and it will be slaughtered in front of the whole mankind, or all of creation. They'll see it, and that ram will be death. So there'll be no death after that. So the people of fire will go to fire, and people of Jannah will go to Jannah. So in that sense, I guess the Imam's trying to give us the idea that death is not something you should be kind of scared of, but you should be kind of looking at it in a perspective that it is a transition in a sense, in the cycle of completion, which is what Allah wants from us. So, in terms of the actual meaning, we touched on a little bit just before when I got some feedback from you guys. The essence of death, in terms of the literal meaning in dictionaries and books that we see these days, non-religious of course, it's nothingness. It's complete annihilation. So you're nothing afterwards. This is kind of like YOLO where it comes from, I guess. As fun as that is, but it's pretty dangerous mentality, that YOLO that caught on. Like I was like, oh, people are gonna think about this. Anyways, but yeah. So when you have this kind of understanding of death, where you think that it's absolutely nothing. After that, there's no more life. There's no more sense. There's no more feeling. There's no understanding. There's no will, which is the complete opposite to that. There's a lot of hadith and riwayat that mention that the mu'mineen, the lowest daraja, the lowest level of the mu'mins in after their death in the afterlife in barzakh, visit their families at least once a week, at least. That's the lowest level. And then the rest, based on how good they were in life, they can come as much as they want. We won't see them. So something like tonight, all of our families, relatives, inshallah, if they were mu'mineen, they would have came and visited us, and they would have seen what good they want to see. So if they see us, doing prayer, doing studying, doing something, for the betterment of Allah and Islam, we would have seen that. But they would have seen that. But they would be shielded from the bad things, so they can't see that. The kuffar, on the other hand, they see all the bad things. They see everything that they hate when it comes to their family, and they can't see anything good they do. So they're even getting even more torment on top of their torture that they're probably getting based on what they did in their life. Now, another thing is that we should touch on here before we go into the Sakarat al-Maut in a bit more depth, is the fact that the fitrah, that's a good thing actually. What do people think about when they hear the word fitrah? So, what do you guys think when you hear that? Like, anyone have any idea?
I think the nature versus nurture debate, the idea that somebody's probably born a certain way, and how that relates to how, people are taught certain things based on the environment that they live in.
Okay. It's a good point. Anything else?
I think it's like the innate tendency.
Yeah. In what sense?
Just the most fundamental aspect of the human being.
So like the coding, like how you have a code for a program, how it's gonna be structured.
Well, not really a code, because that's like saying DNA or whatever.
Oh, I'm just saying like in terms of like the spirit.
Yeah,
that's what you're speaking about. Yeah.
Spirit.
Like when you think about turtles or some fish, they travel from like so many different bays and oceans, and they go to another one. Like how do they do that? That's kind of like fitrah. It's a similar thing, but it's a bit more complicated with humans, of course. Now, anything else? Anyone have anything to contribute? All right. So basically, with fitrah is it's something that Allah gave us. It's like a blessing, because if you don't have this fitrah in you, that you have tawheed, you have nubuwwah, you have imamah, you have adl, all of these pillars of Islam, if you don't have them as a fitrah inside you, it would be almost impossible for anyone to become Muslim, any human. Almost impossible. Because the way this reality is, if you don't have these natural tendencies or fitrah instilled in you by Allah to begin with, it will be almost impossible. That's why you see most people here, if you speak to them about religion for a little bit, like you just bring them ideas that they might like, or you have some knowledge that you're aware of and you're in control of, and you can explain it to them in a proper way, they'll accept it because that's in their fitrah. They're not going to deny what they see as truth and what Allah has put in the Quran for us and what has showed us through the prophets and the Aimah. No one's going to deny that if they see it. That's in their fitrah. So one thing is we see in a lot of ancient civilizations and a lot of paintings and carvings in like old caves and stuff like that, people always cared about the afterlife and burial. Like I'm talking really way back, like 5,000 to 6,000 years before Egyptians. If you even look at the Aborigines here, they're one of the oldest civilizations. They have afterlife, they have the spirit world, they have all these different creatures. Like they almost sound like jinn and like creatures from our mythology and our Islamic literature, which is kind of weird, I guess, because they're not really related that much. But in that sense, it solidifies the idea that fitrah and the understanding that Allah has instilled in every human the belief of the afterlife and life after death. It is there. Now, another thing is, from there we can go on to, why would anyone be scared from death? Like in your opinion, like why would anyone be scared? Yeah.
Because you don't know what's gonna happen to you. You don't know what's gonna approach you afterwards.
Have you heard like lectures about death and stuff? Like when people explain, you have some idea, right?
Yeah.
If you do good, you're gonna be good. If you do bad,
Yeah.
so why are you scared? You should be doing good.
Yeah, but still, like you expect something to, you can't expect it.
Can't understand it. You can't see it. Yeah. Go on.
They fear the pain that accompanies death, or before they die, like the pain that they go through.
Oh, so the people that you see that die, you see them in pain, right?
Yeah.
All right. With the fear of death, like we said before, it's an unknown. And not because it's an unknown in itself. We explained a little bit how it's a creation of God, and really in the Quran Allah has said everything that needs to be said about all of existence and everything that a human needs to complete his cycle of completion. Or Kamal they call it, like the true meaning of being a human, I guess. Which the closest thing was Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, when we talk about this cycle of completion, there is a saying from a famous philosopher slash Muslim person, Jalaluddin al-Rumi. I don't know if you guys heard about him. He says that, when was I less by dying? That's a translation, of course. If I was once an inanimate object, so dirt, like we start off with dirt. You know how Allah says we created humans from dirt? How am I any less if I started from dirt, then went to plant? Because the plants come out of dirt, rain falls, Allah gives the seed the power to burst out from earth and get the nutrients. So the essence of the earth is now transferred into the plant. Now from that plant, after it is in that form, a life form, after it was an inanimate object, now a bird or an animal or a cow or whatever will eat it. So this plant's energy is transferred now into that animal. So in essence, that plant is now an animal. Now same thing, that cloak of the cloak that the animal has now, after it was a plant, is transferred onto the human after the human eats that animal. So we don't think about it now, but every time you do sujood, when you do sujood on the turba, think about it. Probably like 500, 1,000, maybe 2,000, let's say 5,000 years. All of these humans at that time, they're probably in that turba. How many humans do you have in that turba? A lot. And like this, I'm talking about physics, I'm not making this up. Like this is not afterlife, this is here. All of it is like in that piece of dirt. How many parts of a human it has? You went back. You went back from being a human. I'm talking. This is in a physical sense. Now, after this physical cycle, so this is only in this reality. The soul will separate from the body. So the soul will leave this body and leave this physical reality and transfer into the other life after that. So that's what we said about transition, death, right? So in which part of this cycle is any of that essence losing anything? It's always gaining something. And at that last one, that's probably the most gain and result that ever had, the human part. So only Allah knows how much you're going to gain afterwards, based on what you do with this life, based on what we do now that we are in this human form. Alright, so we already touched on what's death and the meaning of it. So now speaking about the soul and the transition of the soul from the body into the other life. So we have this ayah here. الله يتوفى الأنفس حين موتها والتي لم تمت في منامها فيمسك التي قضى عليها الموت ويرسل الأخرى إلى أجل مسمى إن في ذلك لآيات لقوم يتفكرون. Now what we have here, everyone sleeps, right? So every one of us sleeps. Everyone sleeps, right? Everyone slept here. Right, that's good. Just making sure. So if you've slept in your life ever, you've died. Every time you sleep, you die. So just remember that. And one of them could be your last one. So, I was on the train. I think it was yesterday, and I was falling. How sometimes you fall asleep and you're in between awake and asleep, and your mind's kind of goofy. Yeah, you're a bit weird. So I was just dozing off, and then all of a sudden, I was listening to a lecture, and it was talking about this stuff. And he was saying, all of a sudden, you just go. Everything's gone. All that things you've gathered your whole life, the money, the children, whatever. Everything you care about, all of it is gone out the window. A split second. And that's the moment I was falling asleep, and I freaked out. I'm literally could have been that easy. You're laughing now, but that's all it takes. 1 second. How often do we think about that? If we thought about that, I'm not trying to put you off and make you sad, but you would make more out of your life. You would be way more wiser in terms of how you spend your time. You wouldn't be worrying about, games or that's part of life. But these ulama, if you see the Shia ulama, the ulama in Iraq and Iran, last 200, 500, ever since the Aimma brought about the way of Ja'fariyya, Imam Ja'far Sadiq, you see them, they're always giving every second of their life for the religion of Islam, for Ahlul Bayt, for Allah. They don't put anything in between that. They don't see themselves or their desires in front of that, ever. Now if we have that understanding, how could we ever go astray? Or how could we ever not make this ummah or Imam al-Mahdi Ajjallah Farajah proud of us? It's really hard if we actually thought about it. So how long do I have left? 20 minutes. Alright, so we didn't even start second part.
Next week.
Alright, so I guess we can do that next week. Was it? I guess one thing to speak about in terms of the transition, when you go on a bridge, when you pass a bridge, do you see any room for someone to build a house or to establish some kind of permanent residence there? No. You just want to get off most of the time because you're scared you're going to fall in the water or something. You're kind of scared. That's how I feel anyway. But yeah, it's life is like this. It's a crossing. It's a passage. You know how when you're on the train and there's this passageway and you're trying to go from that carriage to the other carriage, you don't want to hang out there, it's dangerous. You could slip off any moment, and it's not comfortable. You want to go to the other side. When we cling to this life, that's what we're doing. We're clinging to that passageway. It's so stupid if you think about it. What you're doing is you're just like, I'm gonna camp here, and yeah, I don't want to go over there where the real life is. You know, and like in the Quran, all it talks about is like the afterlife. You know, that's all it is. You're gonna have that, blah 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 blah, and like we don't even care about it. We're not even like near it. Hopefully, we'll continue this next week because I ran out of time. We didn't even get to touch on the main topic. I'm sorry, guys.
Question two.
But that was good. Like that probably took a bit time than I thought it was. More time. Anyone have any questions? I'll try and answer them. If I can't answer them, I'll answer them next week. I'll do a bit of research if I can. Come on, just ask me something. Yeah.
What are your like? What are your what are your references? So if you wanted to go back,
Okay.
to those hadiths and that.
Yeah. So I'm using this book at the moment.
Yeah,
It's called Manazil Akhirah. It's a pretty scary book. It's actually really scary. It really puts the reality of death in your eyes.
Is that by Abbas al-Kummi?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Saw his picture on it before. But yeah, and I listened to a few lectures. I was listening to yesterday, Sayyid Hamdullah Shirazi. He has a really good series. If you guys want to watch that as well, or listen to it. Not all of them have videos, but yeah, you can find them on Shia Voice. What else? That's pretty much it. Yeah. And you know the books that the hadiths come from, I could get them specifically if you want them, but I don't have every single one of them here. Anything else? All right. Thank you guys for listening. I'll be honest, I haven't given a lecture in a long time, and something like this in particular. So if you guys enjoy it, I'll try and keep doing this like a weekly thing. If not, let me know, so I'll stop now. Thanks a lot, guys. والحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.